Hey guys, what's up? It's me, Austin, here today. I'll be reacting to what powers does the Queen of England actually have? Now, I'm not the person who actually saw this video on YouTube and decided to react to it. It was actually one of you guys that suggested this, and I thought the topic was pretty interesting, so here I am reacting to it. This video is by Today I Found Out, and the link to this video that I'm reacting to today will be in the description below as well. And I suggest that you go check out their channel and like this video and consider subscribing to them as well. Also, only a small percentage of people who watch my videos are actually subscribed. If you like my videos, please subscribe. It's free. You can always unsubscribe later if you want to. Enjoy the video.
Hello, I'm Simon Whistler. You're watching the Today I Found Our YouTube channel, and in the video today we're looking at what powers the Queen of England actually has. And just before we get started, I do want to say that this video is brought to you by Tunnel Bear. Tunnel Bear is a simple privacy app that makes it easy to enjoy a more open internet. It's available for iOS, Android, Windows, and Mac. Start your free trial today at tunnelbear.com/brainfood. So a short while ago, we put out a video about the fact that Queen Elizabeth II neither needs a passport nor a driving licence, thanks to a quirk of British law. What other powers does the Queen of many titles have, and what could she theoretically do if she decided to flex the full might of the authority that she wields? As it turns out, thanks to the royal prerogative, a terrifying amount, if she really felt like it, or at least that's assuming Parliament went by the letter of the law, and that the people didn't decide to stage a small revolt. In reality, the Queen rarely exerts even a fraction of the power that she theoretically wields, as it's kept in check by the only person in the UK who can tell her what to do, and that's herself. This is very much a calculated move on her part in order to stay in the good graces of her subjects. She also voluntarily pays her taxes, even though she's not technically obligated to, and that helps with people's opinion of her. Not only does she avoid openly flexing her political might, she also tends to keep her opinions outside of the public sphere. As historian Frank Prohaska notes, the real secret of royal influence is saying nothing. And anything the Queen does say publicly is pretty anodyne. The minute a monarch, or many of the royals, say anything remotely political or opinionated, they alienate people and they lose some power. This silence played a large part in how the British monarchy survived post-World War I, when other European royal families didn't. In fact, for nearly 2 decades now, the monarchy has regularly had polls run and focus groups put together to keep track of how the general public feels about them and their various actions. They also have on payroll individuals whose job it is to ensure the Queen stays in the public eye and in a way that is most likely to endear her to her subjects. Similar to politicians who rely on the voting public, with each public change she presents, right down to the carrying of a cell phone or not, carefully calculated in terms of the impact it might have. While this may seem only self-serving, the Queen has a very lengthy track record as an admirable public servant, and is also acutely aware that she is a prominent public face representing her subjects, so is keen on avoiding being viewed in a bad light, lest she in turn paints them in a bad light by her actions. As she noted at the tender age of 21 in a speech to the Commonwealth she gave on her birthday, "I declare before you all that my whole life, whether it be long or short, shall be devoted to your service and the service of our great imperial family, to which we all belong." Surprisingly, for many years the full extent of exactly what powers the Queen handed off to the government, but technically retained, weren't publicly known. That is, until 2003, when the government released a partial list of the things it can do on the Queen's behalf. For the most part, the list confirms that the government could do things to save the Queen time, such as issue or revoke passports, which simply wouldn't be a feasible thing to be the sole prerogative of the Crown in a modern society. However, some were actually slightly worried by some of the things she could do, like declare war, which under rules of royal prerogative can be done without consulting Parliament.
Yeah, but then again, we have things like the United Nations and the European Union, where, you know, pretty much all the countries in those two groups have to agree, like, okay, going to war is the only option here. We can't solve this diplomatically, sort of thing. And that's exactly why we haven't seen formal declarations of war in decades. So
On top of that, the Queen is totally immune from prosecution
So I'm not
and
too
is
worried about
considered
that
above the
personally.
law in the UK. And further, as a head of state, she also enjoys diplomatic immunity in any foreign country she happens to visit. As such, she could commit any crime conceivable anywhere on Earth, at least as the law currently stands, and suffer no legal consequences for
Really?
doing so. However, as with everything else, she's generally exceptionally careful to ensure that she doesn't break any laws. Of course, what she does
Well, if she did, she would look really bad. And she would make everybody that she represents look really bad too. So that's probably if I were to guess, that's probably one of the biggest reasons as to why she is so careful as to what she does and doesn't do.
in private is completely her own affair, despite her prominent political position, as she is exempt from freedom of information requests. So, moving on, because technically speaking, the people of Britain are not citizens but subjects of the monarch, she could have anyone she wanted arrested and presumably seize their property or land for the crown. Speaking of which, the
Really?
Queen owns all of the seabeds around the UK and can commandeer any ship found in British waters for service to the realm. Oddly enough, she also has first dibs on any whales that wash up on shore. The Queen could also administer any manner of punishment to an individual who offended or otherwise displeased her, as the crown has prerogative power to keep the peace within the realm. And since she's immune from prosecution, nobody could really do anything if this punishment wasn't entirely within the scope of the law. If the government
Wow.
tried to stop her, the Queen could decimate the British political landscape by dissolving Parliament and appointing anyone she felt like as Prime Minister. This is because it's the Queen's duty to appoint the Prime Minister, and she could, in theory, appoint anyone she wanted to the position, regardless of the way the British public voted in an election. On top of that, in the event the Queen didn't like the outcome of an election, for instance, if she didn't like the replacement Parliament members that were voted in, she could just call for another one using royal prerogative until she got the Parliament she wanted. Not that she'd need to, because if she really wanted, she'd just bring in the army to keep everyone in line. But how does that work? How does she control the army? Well, that's because the Queen is also the Commander-in-Chief of the entire British military, with every
Wow.
officer, soldier, sailor, and pilot swearing allegiance to the crown and
Oh yeah, like I've seen videos of people like trying to mess with these guys and whatever, but like that's a really bad idea. Like not only are they not gonna like laugh if you're trying to make them laugh or whatever, like these guys here are very well highly trained, you know. Like they know exactly what they need to do, and they know exactly what they're what they have to do in certain situations, right? So like if you ever see these guys like marching around, like don't mess with them, you know? Like even if you don't see them marching around, but even just standing, you know, like just you can like look at them for a few seconds, like admire, like wow, like I'm actually seeing these guys for the first time or whatever, but like don't mess with them or anything. They're very, 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 very highly trained and skilled people. in
nobody
the army.
else. They're not called Her Majesty's Armed Forces for nothing. Being considered the ultimate authority on all British military matters, the Queen could authorise a nuclear strike on France or make North Korea an ally, as she has the power to declare both war and peace with foreign nations. As for laws, well,
Okay, well, why would she? I don't think the Queen would ever make a communist regime that you can get killed for saying bad things about the leader of the country. And I don't think she would. I don't think she would ever consider North Korea an ally, at least in the regime that it's in now. You know, and she definitely wouldn't declare a nuclear strike to be had against France. Like they're those two countries there are like tight in terms of
technically the
being
Queen
allies.
can't
So.
create new laws, she can only sign them into
But I suppose he's just giving examples.
law after they've been decided upon by Parliament. In fact, her royal assent is required to make the law official after being passed by Parliament in the first place. She could appoint ministers who'd make any laws she wanted a reality and then just sign them into law that way. Beyond royal assent, there's also the Queen's consent, which requires she give her consent before any law that affects the interests of the monarchy can
Okay, kind of side note, like why does the Queen wear these gloves? You know, like I've seen many pictures where the Queen is wearing these white gloves. Like why? Like, is there a specific reason for it? Like, does she not want her fingerprints on some stuff or something like that? I don't know.
Can even be discussed at all in Parliament. She actually has used this power before, such as in 1999 when she refused to allow the discussion of a bill that would have given Parliament power to authorize military strikes in Iraq instead of needing her authorization.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's no way she would allow government to make that sort of decision on her own. And I think the UK or the England is kind of unique in the fact that there's also like there's parliament and government and everything, but there's also the royal family and all that, which from my understanding actually is more power than the parliament itself. Where in Canada and in the United States, what has the most power is the federal government. So.
So, well, that's all on the political side, but it doesn't stop here. The Queen technically has a sort of power not only over her subjects' physical beings, but also their souls. Well, how? Well, that's because she's also the head of the Church of England, including having the power to appoint archbishops and power over many other such matters concerning the Church. As for most of these powers that technically allow her to rule with an iron fist, as previously mentioned, the Queen is hesitant to ever use them in such a way that would displease her subjects, and certainly isn't about to disregard their representatives in Parliament.
Yeah, she really doesn't want to do that. We've seen in the past many times where the like Parliament or whoever's like at the very top, especially in like sort of, what's the term, dictatorship kind of way, where people are just extremely unhappy, especially in the Russian communist regime and all that, in the past, in the USSR. You don't want to do things that would make your people unhappy. Otherwise, it will get to the point where they will arm themselves and revolt and everything like that.
However, these powers still exist for a variety of reasons, including potentially being needed in times of extreme
maybe
crisis.
Not in the 21st century,
that said, just because she
past.
isn't in the practice of exercising her powers against the will of the people, it doesn't mean she isn't occasionally an active political powerhouse in private. Extremely well respected and known worldwide, with the ability to bend the ear of most heads of state, the influence the Queen wields is difficult to quantify, but, as noted in an article discussing why the BBC named the Queen the most powerful woman in the world in their list of 100 most powerful women, Her Majesty's power is more about influence. A discreet nod of the head, a polite word in the ear of a Prime Minister at their weekly meeting, or a strategic patronage of a cause being overlooked by the government is how she can indirectly affect our world without us even knowing. Well, to conclude, the Queen has many powers she could theoretically legally use to her own ends unless her subjects and Parliament simply decided to stage a revolution. However, she generally avoids doing anything overt that might upset her subjects and otherwise simply works in the background, more or less in an advisory role when she feels there is a need. So I really hope you enjoyed that video. Now, if you are interested in protecting your privacy online, well, then you really should have a VPN. Now, VPNs are something you might have heard of. They are simple tools that have become a must for people who want to enjoy a more private and open internet experience. Now, there are a lot of reasons that people might want to do this. One thing that I've personally come across is when I'm booking a flight to somewhere and then you come back later and that flight is more expensive. Basically, they know you're coming back and they know you're actually more interested, so they think that they can charge you more money. A tool like a VPN helps you avoid that problem. Or maybe you're traveling or you live in a country with a less than open internet. That's another thing that a VPN can be very useful for. Now, this is VPNs in general.
Yeah, but that's exactly why, like, you don't want to do anything like with your banking information or log into your email and stuff like that over an unsecured network. Exactly. But if you use a VPN, even in an unsecured network, then it should help you.
And to be honest, there are plenty of providers around, and they all promote different features that you might or you might not need. But TunnelBear are the best provider. They're actually a company that I've used for a long time before we even did this sponsorship with them. And to me, I like them because they do three things and they do them perfectly. The first one is that it's incredibly easy to use. Now, you'd kind of expect it to be easy to use on a Mac or a PC, but when it comes to phones and internet, it always seemed to get a little bit tricky with other experiences I've had. But with TunnelBear, you install it, you flick a switch, and it's ready to go. It's really as simple as that. Even if you don't really have any technical skills, you can still get TunnelBear up and running. Second of all, it is super secure. It uses something called AES 256 encryption, which I didn't actually know what it was. I looked it up, and it turns out that it can be broken. It can be broken if you've got access to the world's most powerful computer, and you can set that computer to run for a trillion times a trillion times a trillion times a trillion number of years. So, no, it can't be broken. Number three, it's super fast. Unlikely. It's got servers in 20 countries, so wherever you are, you can get fast internet access through a nearby connection. And hey, if you want to try it out for yourself, see how fast, secure, and easy to use it is, you can take advantage of the free trial that TunnelBear have been kind enough to extend to you guys. You can just go to tunnelbear.com/brainfood to get a 7-day free trial. There is also a link in the description below. And as always, thanks for watching.
Yeah, sure. That was a pretty cool video. Yeah, if you're the person who stressed this and you're watching this, like, yeah, thanks for stressing. It was really good. Yeah, I had no idea just how powerful the Queen of England is even to this day, right? I was well aware that, like, for example, 50 to 100 years ago, I knew that the Queen then was really, really powerful, but I had no idea that the Queen to this day is still pretty much, as far as I know, just as powerful as she was 50 to 100 years ago. So it's pretty interesting. But yeah, I'm just happy that the Queen of England doesn't abuse her power, she uses her power, but she doesn't use it to the point where she's making her people unhappy, or she's doing just all these sorts of things that in most people's eyes just don't make sense whatsoever, back in World War II, she sided with France, and instead of siding with Hitler and the Nazi regime, right? So, I think England is pretty safe with having her as the queen. She doesn't really seem like she wants to abuse her power at all. So, so that's kind of one of the most interesting things that I've ever learned about the Queen of England, I think, is that, like, just her kind of mentality around being the Queen of England and everything. But yeah, if you guys haven't already, I highly suggest that you like this video and consider subscribing as well, with post notifications on, so you don't miss out on any of my future uploads. And with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next one. See you later, guys.